Welcome to the Ascendant Art Podcast, episode 120. Got my co-host Slender Dad here with me. How are you doing, Slender?
I'm fired up.
You are fired up. This week,
You made it worse with your Fallout Dominates talking point that I saw you
I'm
slide into the title there.
I'm just throwing it out there. We'll bring it up. I mean, it is what it is. Like,
Well, and I know you do not want me to ruin it for you, so you're fighting me every step of the way, but we're on the same team, Lil Chad. I love it. I just can't deny that the writing is terrible anymore. I still love it.
I know it is what it is. we'll we'll see how it goes. All right, we're gonna have a fun show tonight. We got, as you can hear from in Slender's voice, he's genuinely excited with lots of topics tonight. Normally, I'm the one filling things in and trying to just get him to pontificate. But
Well,
this
the
time,
little inside baseball, little chat. I was sending you articles on like Tuesday, and they just kept coming in because in the gaming space, it's a damn mess right now. And then we talked a little bit about Doctor Who because
yep.
Disney got their filthy mitts on that, and you can really tell because they turned it into a burlesque show. There's so much going on. We had a couple slow news weeks, but
Yeah, so
apparently they were brewing something big.
yeah, let's get right into what's been going on. I think gaming this week can be summed up in one graphic you created for us. This is obviously an homage to our regular semi co-host, I guess, Mad with his "What's Gucci My Ninjas" intro.
I just never thought they'd make Mad the protagonist of the newest Assassin's Creed game. It kind of surprised me. But here he is running around with a bunch of ninjas.
Oh, Imp is still deciding if I want to hop on and poke the E or some. I wonder if that means dealing,
I think he
contradicting the
meant
impossible.
bear.
Oh, poke the bear. Yep, there's the correction. I was like, maybe that is some internet term I don't want to seem silly for not knowing. Do you want to say we had Smokey in the chat too? So hey, Smokey.
Sup, dude?
Yep. So yeah, so if you want to fill people in on where this graphic is coming from.
Okay, well, and here's the thing. This one is way bigger than it should be. There's a lot going on with it, but EA pissed everybody off. Sony pissed everybody off. Square actually made kind of a smart move, and it's like, hey, fuck Sony. We're gonna try and do more platforms, multiple platform releases, because we're all screwed up right now. But with everybody getting all this attention, whether it be good or bad, Ubisoft came running in and we're like, guys, no, you can hate us too. We suck too. Why isn't anybody talking about how bad we are? And they dropped the trailer.
Did you notice the scroll I just put down?
Yep. And they dropped the trailer for Assassin's Creed Shadows. And I mean, at first, it's really exciting because it's like, oh, sweet. Finally, we're getting what a lot of people think are some of the ultimate assassins, ninjas. And they're like, well, yeah, but the ninja's going to be a female Japanese person. And we're going to have a samurai protagonist as well. And he's going to be Yosuke, the well-known black man who lived in Japan in the feudal era and may have risen to the title of samurai. That's actually, there's really no way to know. I find it, I'm 50-50 because there was, I believe, a Swiss man who was named Samurai at one point, like 30 to 50 years after Yosuke was in the books. But it's extremely rare for them to grant that kind of title to what they would view as a foreigner.
A gaijin, I believe, is the
Yeah.
official Japanese term for foreigner.
Yeah, Imp's right. Yeah, it's a Welshman. a Welshman. I can't remember his name. And it's Yosuke. That's the other thing that's pissing me off about this. Since everybody's talking about it now, well, I've determined that most Westerners apparently think that it's Yasuke. It's like no, no, no. Watch more anime, damn it, because it's Yosuke.
How is that pronounced then again?
Yosuke. That's it. Yasuke is Yosuke because their U is almost always a soft U.
Yosuke.
Yeah, but he was a retainer for Nobunaga. Like he was basically Nobunaga's bodyguard.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I know a little. I mean, he gets used in historical animes.
mm-hmm.
I think that's also because it was an easy way for manga creators to have I don't want to say diversity, but just a different style of character to be able to draw. It's Japan is a very lockdown culture, right? you know,
Mm-hmm.
you have to come up with reasons a lot of times for people. That's why if you watch a lot of anime, they will often say because they are in close proximity to this country that a lot of the exotic women are Russian descent, right?
Yeah.
That's how they can justify having the kind of stuff going on. So he's been
Yeah, clap
featured.
for fucking diversity. No shit, right? And that's the thing is the agenda is so nakedly obvious here because and this game isn't even really like on my radar, wasn't for any reason because in all honesty, my favorite Assassin's Creed game is Black Flag, and it's because I love the not Assassin's Creedy parts of the game. Like I enjoy Assassin's Creed. I really like Altair. He's like my go-to. He's probably my favorite assassin. I
Not
like
Ezio.
Ezio never did it for me. He wasn't as cool as Altair to me. He wasn't the OG. I liked Edward Kenway, but he didn't feel like an assassin to me. And then Arno, the one that was made for me because he's a Frenchman. I hated that asshole. So, but like this new one, the it the agenda is nakedly obvious because they base this guy. This guy is supposed to be Yosuke. They have never done that in another Assassin's Creed game. In every other Assassin's Creed game, the protagonists are a made up fictional character that then interacts with the historical figures from that era. But they aren't a historical figure. They're a no name. Like Connor in Assassin's Creed 3. He's a no name. Obviously, Ezio Altair. They aren't historical figures. Nobody's ever heard of these people because they didn't exist until the game was made. But Yosuke, he did exist before the game was made. And even with Assassin's Creed Black Flag, they did do a historical figure as a DLC. Yosuke should be a DLC to Assassin's Creed Shadows. But they changed up the formula so that they could make a black man the protagonist in the game. And they're trying to use it as their armor right now. And it's disgusting. As I said, it is nakedly obvious the agenda that they are pushing here. Their numbers aren't going to get better for this, but I think part of it is a goal to spin up that controversy. The
Yeah,
wiki page for Yasuke is in an all-out flame war right now.
this is
And
just
neither side is right. Neither side is right. That's the weirdest part. Although, in all honesty, from a historian perspective, if you can't prove in the affirmative, you usually default to the negative. You say, we don't know, probably not.
there is very little first-hand source material to justify him being considered a legit samurai
No,
in the
I
feudal
don't
era of
consider him
Japan.
a samurai. There's no evidence to suggest it. None of the historical documentation says he was a samurai. They specifically denote that he was Nobunaga's retainer. And they
Yeah,
said, "Oh, well, he carried his swords." And I'm like, he didn't fucking carry his sword. Nobunaga was like, "Dude, you're huge. You're built like a brick shithouse and you know how to use a sword. Carry my swords and be right next to me. That way if anyone tries to kill me, you can fuck them up."
yeah. The historical first-hand accounts never refer to him as a samurai. The main thing he was famous for was spreading the word that that his master had been betrayed, and trying to, defend him, right? Because
Yeah.
in Japan, even it's a quirk of Japanese history and society, where even when you have someone doing a coup, the Japanese value loyalty so much that someone who isn't blood related, or however you want to do it, who fights to defend his perceived master in Japanese culture, is viewed very favorably, even by people who would be his enemies.
Well, and it's kind of fucked up that Ubisoft is so desperate to have a black man serve a master again.
Yeah, and here's another. They had two previous games with black leads. One was a DLC for Black Flag, and the other was in
Yep.
New Orleans with a black female. I
And
think
the
the New Orleans.
DLC for Black Flag, he was literally pirating around up and down the coast to free slaves. Like
Yeah.
that was like that. I mean,
Oh, we got Grant in there. Not a real story, bro. No, I mean, he's. It's an. There's, like I said, that is.
Yosuke is an actual historical figure. He is referenced in Japanese history. It's just what
But
they're
those,
trying to
yeah.
spin it into is not real.
But that's what I'm saying. Like that, what I just shared, to my knowledge, was basically combined with what you said about him being considered a retainer who carried a sword,
Yeah.
was effectively the entire amount of first-hand accounts
Yes,
from.
Grant.
I mean,
I'll agree with that. I'll agree. Yosuke is real, but all this is fantasy. Yes.
exactly, yeah. So we're taking now, and that's not to say that you can't use very sketchy historical tradition to try to create a story.
No, I
What I'm
mean,
gonna say.
I am convinced to this day that Abraham Lincoln was a vampire hunter and is still alive.
Yeah. What I was
Convinced.
what I was gonna follow up that is, but what's crazy is number one, somehow being Japanese isn't considered diverse when you're
Nope.
making a lead
Nope.
game,
Not not
which
diverse.
I am I'm reminded that in some circles Asian is considered white adjacent, and so they don't, can't factor that in. But the other thing that, and we talked about this a little briefly before we started the show, is how popular Ghosts of Tsushima was, with
Yes.
a traditional Japanese character lead. It sold amazing in the West. It sold amazing in Japan. It is beloved in Japan, even though it was made by a Western game studio. If
Beloved
you're a
so much that the island of Tsushima actually named that dev studio official ambassadors of the island.
yeah, Grant, Ghosts was not diverse enough. It was not diverse enough to get a sales hit and get yeah. And there's another, and Shogun just came out and was a giant, huge success of a show. So much so that even though Shogun, the entire book source material has been exhausted, they've greenlit it for two more seasons,
Well,
where they're
and
just
I
gonna
don't
make it
know
up.
if people in the modern era know this, but up until mass transit, a lot of places across the entirety of this big old globe we call the Earth were pretty racially and ethnically homogenous because you couldn't just hop a plane and fly to the other side of the fucking planet. So, like, is the rule now that everything has to have everyone? Because if that's the case, I feel like in the next Doom game, I better be able to play Rainbow Dash from My Little Pony.
I mean,
Right? We need more diversity in these games.
clearly you're wrong. It needed to be Fluttershy, but what I was is what's I just Assassin's Creed and a traditional Japanese lead character in feudal Japan seems like a great combination, because the gameplay fits it. If anything, I would have, in this situation, you shouldn't have a samurai protagonist. You would have a ninja, right? Because ninjas are the assassin class
Well,
of
and did you
Japanese
watch the
history.
trailer?
No. Oh
At the
wait.
end of the trailer,
Oh my
they're
God. Grant's telling me there's also a non-binary character
I'm sure. We
in feudal
if
Japan, because that was
I
gonna
feel
happen.
like we'll get dinged if we try to watch the trailer, but at the end of the trailer, it shows the ninja girl and Yosuke the samurai, and there's this dude who's like, "What master do you serve?" And Yosuke says, "We are the shadows." And then the girl says, "Who serve the light." And I'm like, was this written by a fucking
Wait a
12-year-old?
second. I swear that's been in a movie or TV show before.
it's
Doesn't that sound like a Saturday morning cartoon kind of like?
it sounds like something an emo middle schooler would write. Like it's just we are the shadows who serve the light. Fuck off. Like,
Yeah.
do you remember how to write good dialogue?
Soul
I guess
Assassin
not,
saying,
because that would
the
imply you forgot and knew how at one point.
Yeah, so Soul Assassin says the original writer for the game said it was totally different story and was recently completely rewrote. So
Yeah, supposedly. I don't know.
Grant
I
says
do
that's
know
from
that the head writer. Go ahead.
I was just say Grant says that's from a parody movie, so that
Probably is,
that sounds
but
like
they said it seriously. And the funny thing is, like, apparently the woman who is the lead writer for this project, like, you go to her, I think it's her Twitter, her Facebook, whatever, but it's like it's got Sweet Baby Ink all the fuck over it, all over it. It's absolutely awful. And this was only the most recent thing that got me spun up this week, because there was a lot of damn news.
Yeah, it's stupid is what it is.
We are the shadows who serve the light. Until you can balance the tack hammer on your head, you will not be able to head off your opponent with a balanced attack. You must master your rage, or your rage will become your master.
Now you're just saying things. Oh, we got Tina in here before she takes her Ambien. Good to have her. Hey, bad take Bojan. Yeah, a samurai would not abandon his post and still call himself a samurai. No, there's a specific term for a samurai that doesn't have a master anymore and
Ronin.
an official job, a ronin. Yeah. Yeah.
And Ronin basically means gypsy or bandit. Like,
oh, Soul Assassin trying to stir you up again. Grinding your gears. Soul Assassin, why were you trying to wind him up so much? He's a good guy. He's just trying. He's just here having a good time.
Also, you think I lose the music trivias? I don't even attempt the music trivias.
Grant Gregory, Ronin is the Japanese N-word.
Yes, it kind of is.
What's up, my Ronin? As long as you don't use the hard R.
No, the hard
Ronin.
N.
Ronin.
Ronin. Ronin. Keep them doggies Ronin.
Oh, I thought we'd go more of the Limp Bizkit version.
Keep Ronin. What? Keep Ronin.
If they don't use that in the advertising, they're missing a great opportunity. Oh, we do have somebody who wants to poke the bear. What's up, man?
Well, I'm also a gamer, so I can weigh in on this shit.
How stupid is it?
Really. Again, it's Ubisoft, and it's not like they're known for making quality product.
No.
Ronan, please, says Soul Assassin.
And the lowest price for this game is $70, but like the Super Collector's Ultra Season Pass Edition is $130.
Yeah, it's getting out of hand.
$130. Like they're trying to one up EA, they're trying to one up Sony, they're trying to one up Blizzard. They're going for like the hat trick right now.
And the funny thing is shitty as Blizzard's been, they're actually doing some things that are moderately okay. I've heard the new patch for Diablo 4 is actually good.
Yeah, it's too late. I've moved on to Last Epoch at this point.
Well, yeah. I mean, they did this with Diablo 3 as well. They put out a game and people are like, yeah, your itemization is shit. And okay. And that's what they did, is they fixed the itemization. They condensed
it. Kind of feels like it flipped on this one, because I didn't necessarily have a problem with the gameplay in Diablo 3. I actually thought it was really nice the way they did it, where you can kind of mix and match your abilities to get kind of a unique loadout. I liked that. Really cool way to approach it. But
at launch, that game,
the story in Diablo 3 was weak. It was weak fucking sauce.
I mean, the story's never been incredible in that franchise. I hate to say.
Diablo 4 had a pretty good story. Other than the couple of times they tried to put a little bit of woke politics into it, I actually really enjoyed and found the Diablo 4 story engaging.
To
Yeah,
answer
I would
Soul
agree.
Assassin's question real quick, yes, Ubisoft is doing the Star Wars Outlaw game too.
Yes,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's terrible.
And something
It's gonna
tells me
fail.
they may not be around for long.
No. But Diablo 3, the expansion with Death, I really liked that story.
Oh,
And then
the
the game
story
was
was
getting really
good.
good.
And yeah, oh yeah, the game did a complete 180 when the expansion came out for sure, which is crazy.
Diablo 4, it's kind of the opposite. Like, there's nothing story-wise that going on with that game after you finish the main campaign. Fucking nothing.
No,
They
the
just
end
keep
game
throwing
is
more
absolute-
content that's garbage.
Yeah. I mean, case in point too is Blizzard just released something yesterday for World of Warcraft called the Mr. Pandaria remix.
Oh, goody, because everybody loved that.
Actually, the people who played it liked it. You got a lot of people like, oh, why pandas? Fucking ignore that. The actual setting was actually pretty good. The class,
Yeah, but it was never part of the Warcraft lore. That was
Yeah, it
a
was.
joke character.
He was in one of the Warcraft games, dude.
He was as a joke character.
Either way, I mean, say what you will, but what they did with this is one of the guys I follow, Preach Gaming, made a very good comment about it. Is the one thing about it is it's non-committal. It's a 3-month event. You create a separate character, leveling speeds increase. They're dumping gear on you. It's more like Diablo than WoW,
Okay.
and it's fun.
Dude, I would never play a Pandarian anyway. I liked the
Well, you don't have to play one. It's just
I liked the Night Elves and the Worgen.
It's just set in that expansion. You don't go anywhere else. You can't even go to Ogrimmar. You are set.
Okay.
You know, there's no auction house. They've also added things like all your stats are coming from a cloak you get, and you keep adding to it, and there is no cap to how much you can add to it.
I agree, Mr. Grant Gregory. I agree.
Night Elf Mohawk or nothing.
And then, there's other things too, like you've played a little bit of WoW, Slender.
I've played a lot of WoW.
Okay, so let's put it this way. They also
held me all the way through. I played into Cataclysm. I mean,
okay.
We all know that Lich King was the height of the game. It was the pinnacle. Cataclysm, it was okay, and then they dropped Mr. Pandaria, and I was like, and we're done. Goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, Mist was okay. WoD was terrible. Legion was good, and then everything after Legion's been meh to shit.
Yeah.
Because its Shadowlands was terrible. Absolutely terrible. I regret playing that. It also didn't help that I got into a raid guild. We raided twice, and they decided to take a break. Thanks, guys. Thanks. I server transferred for what? Thanks.
The best we did was we had a guild of a bunch of my buddies from the Navy. So like we could field a 10-man barely.
Yeah.
So we just did our own raiding.
Oh yeah. But I don't understand why some of these decisions are coming down the pipe from these game companies. Are they not reading the financial room?
No, they're not. Well, and that's the thing. It's like,
and it's not even about a one-time loss. I mean, I have no faith in Square Enix anymore.
Oh no,
and
I haven't.
Years ago,
had faith in them in a
decades ago, you would have seen me touting them as my favorite game company.
Well, I do think it's a good sign that Square is abandoning console exclusives.
They're on the right track. They've renewed my interest in what they're doing. Because in all honesty, I was one of those people who back during Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VII, and I liked 8 and 9 and 10 as well. Although I think 10 was Chrono Cross. I liked Chrono Cross. I actually just picked it up on Steam because I missed it so much. But
the remaster?
Yeah. But back when they were advertising those games, it always said at the end, Square, maker of the world's best games. And I kind of agreed with that statement.
So Soul Assassin says, talking to a lot of vets, I'm surprised how many nerds are in the military. Yeah, there are an awful lot.
You want to see how many weebs are in the Air Force?
Well, the Air Force isn't the military. The Air Force doesn't count.
Hey, my dad was in the Air Force.
The Air Force is the cushy, Gucci, bougie branch. It's
Maybe
Yes, they
now,
are.
but like when my dad was in it during Vietnam, it sure as hell wasn't that.
No, and
guess
if he
they
was
were.
pararescue, he was a badass.
Yeah, they were probably.
No, he wasn't, but he was on the ground. He's one of those guys that would set up the overnight airports.
Okay, yeah, that's not to be
And
fucked
he
with.
saw some shit, as he told me when I was younger. Nothing like watching a friend you went through basic with get turned into a fine red mist.
Well, ironically, awesome one. I was in fact an electronics technician, so I set up a bunch of tech stuff. I did comms, and most of my friends were ITs or FCs, which are information systems technicians or fire controlmen. And fire controlman doesn't mean you do the guns. Fire controlman means you control the big guns that are attached to the ship through a little computer console.
Yep. And the fact that they
And
gave
you also
you
do the
that job.
maintenance. No, I was an electronics technician. I worked comms.
Oh, okay. That stands to be. Well, even that's like, Slender on comms. I wonder how many people he yelled at.
Set up the
Well,
comms.
luckily, I wasn't the one
like,
talking.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got
was,
you now. I got you.
I was the one in the the transmitter room, making sure that all the radios were properly calibrated and tuned up and were working correctly.
Gotcha.
And then yelling at the officers who were like, "It's not working," and I'm like, "No, you don't understand. When you key up on that microphone, it sends a signal down to the fucking 4th deck, and then that signal has to come all the way back up to the O10 where we're at right now. That's a long distance to travel.
Yeah.
So when you key up, wait a second before you start talking, you fucking moron."
Well, no
It's
one
the-
ever said officers were intelligent.
It's the customer service, that really sets Slender apart. Hey, fucking moron! Make sure you wait for a moment before you start talking.
I mean, I kind of get that at my job. I can't tell you how many times I go into work. I'm wearing a company shirt with a logo on it. Do you work here? No, I'm just wearing a name tag because I'm a retard.
No, I just love this place. I'm
And
the
it's
biggest fan.
It's taking every ounce of self-control that I have, which admittedly is pretty decent amount, to not be a smartass.
Yeah.
There's just no way to not be a smartass.
Yeah, well, you guys know me kind of well at this point, and I'm a smartass. But I've worked retail my entire life. So there's certain things that have just been drilled into me you just don't do.
No, you never pulled the mall rats and been like, the customer is always an asshole.
Oh, I've definitely thought that. And there's been times both me and my boss will be in the warehouse in the back going, oh, Jesus Christ, these people are killing me. How are these people this dumb? I mean, I had somebody, bear in mind, I work at a grocery store. I had a guy come in the other day, ask where our wristwatch section and shoe section were.
I mean, what do you work at like an Aldi? Because then, yes, there
No.
would be. There
No,
would be
I-
possibly wristwatches and that stuff.
I work for Stop and Shop, so no.
Mm.
And the best part is there's a Marshalls in our plaza. Why did you go into a place called
Not
Stop
a
and
Ross dress for less.
Like I was saying, I like this stupidity never ceases to amaze me. And what's going on with Ubisoft, part of me thinks they did it purposely for more than one reason.
Awesome one says, my brother ran IT for the White House. Don't think he had access to files and now runs IT radio for the Air Force. Well, if he worked for, if he did IT for the White House in the 90s and he knew anything, he'd already be dead. So, you know, like, that was a Clinton's reference, by the way.
Yeah. You don't say.
All right, so are we segueing into our other topic then?
Yeah, because all this set Slender off so royally, he decided that there had to be something. I think what would be the best way to describe it to address this. So that's when he decided to let me stop the ticker. Create his new game club. We've got
Game
Slender's
club.
going full Tyler Durden about gaming.
Okay.
I made
Yeah.
rules and everything. There are rules.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
so let me get those.
You put some effort into this, I take it.
I was very upset.
more upset over something gaming wise, or what they're doing with Doctor Who?
I think it was just that it all happened at once, but gaming is my escape from all this.
Mm.
And I'm very invested in my games, so I made these rules like, first rule of Game Club, talk about Game Club. Second rule, no, really, talk
Look,
about Game Club so the devs know the fucking rules.
Hold on, Smokey. An angry Slender is a normal Slender. A calm Slender is scary.
That's actually true. A lot of
What do you think I
people
was thrown off for last Friday?
a
Or
lot
Saturday,
of
I
people
should
know
say.
me. Yeah.
When we were watching hockey,
Yeah, Slender was the calm one, and Bride was the one raging. I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this. I'm kind
you
of
realize
scared.
how much rage must be in that house when Slender's like, "Calm down. You're being a little irrational. You're getting a little out of hand."
It scared even me.
And you got that Alaskan Canadian going, "You stupid hosers, get the puck, you pieces of shit." Man, I swear to God, she would have broken some hockey sticks and thrown pucks at people if she was near them. Yeah, Bride of Slender is a beast. Like
Oh,
when
she
she
is.
watches hockey.
She don't fuck around.
She also puts up
Alright.
with Slender, so there's that too.
So we've got through.
And she's been putting up with me for 15 years now, so.
Yeah, so we've got rule
woman's
1
a
and
saint.
2, which is talk about it. No, really talk about, so the devs know the rules. And here we get into the real rules.
Yeah, like DEI makes games DIE. That's an important
Mhm.
one. If it has ESG, not a dime from me. Yes, I made that rhyme because I thought it sounded clever.
Did you shop this with Mad?
No, I didn't.
No, Matt has been unavailable due to
I talked to
Yeah.
him last night. He's had a rough week.
Yeah, he's out of meds.
Oh, that he was
Um,
out of AC for a couple days, and I guess it's been disgusting down there.
Yeah, and then games must be 90% complete at launch. A day one patch should not be 115 gigs and comprise 25% or more
can I
of a game
clarify
that's
that,
only half done.
I would suggest an edit on this one. Games
Okay.
must be 100% complete at launch.
I mean, I agree.
Yeah,
But-
but that's also a
Anything they told me was going to be in my game when I'm, to buy it at launch.
Well,
needs to be
that's in the next
100%
rule there,
done.
Lil
Yeah.
Chad. Why don't you read that one?
Reverse scope creep. If a feature is announced and the game is open for early access or pre-order, the studio has an obligation to deliver those services or provide a full refund should the promised feature mysteriously disappear along the way. I mean, it kind of dovetails with that, but I'm saying it needs to be available day one. Like when I bought a Nintendo
Well, that's
game,
very specifically that is I'm calling out CD Projekt Red on that one because Cyberpunk 2077
so many
promised
features they
a whole bunch of
advertise.
RPG character customization elements that mysteriously disappeared during the dev cycle, but they were
Well,
on the website.
Did you ever
and
hear
then
the
they
story
were
about
gone.
that dev cycle?
I heard it was a fucking mess.
It was a mess because they kept pulling people off to work on Witcher shit.
Yep,
But there was 2 lead developers, not just one.
which is never a good idea.
And one wanted a deep RPG, and the other wanted a looter shooter.
Yeah.
hold on, I
And
do
look
have
how
to
it turned out.
I do have to share something real quick because it's right over on Twitter. We got a nice with the "What's Gucci My Ninjas."
Who did that?
Oh no.
That's fantastic.
You guys were, I think you were tagged in it, Slender, if you open up Twitter.
That is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it was Release the McCracken.
Oh, thank you. Release the McCracken.
Oh, McCracken, you just made everybody on this panel's night.
Saving that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward for myself.
That was
Just add
awesome.
that to the AA podcast stuff.
We have to send that to Mad. He can make that one of his. He's gonna make that one of his avatars. You know it.
He should.
Oh.
I mean, I think every gamer on the face of the planet has been getting pissed off at the executives who keep saying this, but rule number 7, attempts to further monetize the player base will be met with extreme hostility. Like, I'm fucking done with this shit. Like, these junior executives that are fresh out of their fucking, ooh, I got my MBA at fucking, University of Dick Sucking. It's like, dude, No, the player base is not under monetized. They don't need to pay you more money. Like it baffles me so much. You realize like gamers don't, a lot of them don't make much money. Like some of them are real slugs, right? Like
Soul Assassin says we should leave that image on screen and see how long till Mad notices. Well, Mad's just unavailable. Otherwise, we would try.
He's having a rough week. Otherwise, we would be baiting
if
him
Mad
more.
was in any way available, that would have incepted him into the show.
He would have already appeared. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, with the monetization, look, if you can't set up your budget to make money off the $50, $60, $70 you're charging for these games, fuck you. Like, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Look, I didn't tell you to spend $500 million developing your stupid ass game that no one wanted because Sweet Baby Inc. decided to make Harley Quinn a cunt. I mean,
yeah,
a
that
terrible
includes
person.
Yeah, and that includes collecting data on your players, Sony, packing unreasonable microtransactions into your games, Bethesda, dark patterns, Blizzard, invasive in-game stores, Blizzard again, loot boxes, everybody, EA mostly, season passes, Ubisoft. Like, all these things are fucking stupid, and I'm tired of them. And I'm sure there are more that I'm not remembering.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I can come up with a few other things to add in there at some point.
Yeah. Rule number 9, for those of us who are a little older, like the ESRB was created in 1994 specifically to address the issue of censorship. Like your game has a rating printed on the side of the box. Your game, if you go to buy it on Xbox Store or anything else, or if your kid comes and says, "Hey, Mom, Dad, can I get this game?" I go show me the store page. It shows me the rating of the game right there on the page. It even usually gives me an expansion on that, like it's rated MA for violence and you know,
it'll say why. It'll give you basic descriptors as to why it got the rating it did.
Yeah. And if like one of my teenagers wanted to buy a game and it's like, oh well, it's violent and gory, I don't care. Like you can be the Doom guy. I was playing that game when I was 9, so what do I care? But yeah, like I don't need you to make sure that, you know, the girl from Stellar Blade is wearing more clothes. Maybe I want to see her wearing less.
Well, did you see someone God. Did you see someone actually wrote an article saying she's sexier when she's more covered up?
Yes, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. That sounds like spoken by a man whose dick has never been hard. Clearly.
Actually, I think a woman wrote it.
That's even worse.
It was either a woman or a trans person. One of
well, then spoken by a woman whose dick has never been hard.
There we go.
Yeah, and then I love your last point. If you don't love games, community wasn't made for you. You should leave. Never return.
Yes.
The funniest thing I've seen lately in regards to all this kind of stuff is all these people who seem to think that gaming was always this mainstream thing.
No.
Because because if it was, my life experiences were well more fucked up than they were.
No, even into the early 2000s, gaming wasn't considered mainstream. Gaming became mainstream when all these companies became corporate entities. Because back in the 80s and 90s, the people making video games, yes, they were still gaming companies, but they were small companies, and they were almost 100% comprised of people who loved video games and wanted to make video games and dreamed of making video games. From the lowest person on the totem pole all the way up to the CEO. Nowadays, I mean, it's a crapshoot if the C-suite has even ever played a fucking video game.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that hurts the game.
It does. Because I can remember too when Blizzard got bought out by Activision. During Wrath of the Lich King, actually, that happened.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there going, "Oh, this is gonna be bad. I'm telling you now, this is gonna be bad."
Well.
And everybody's like, "Oh, Blizzard's gonna remain autonomous, whatever. It's not a big deal." This is also before Activision got real shitty. But Even I saw the writing on the wall then, and I've kind of been proven right.
Up until the
Yeah.
early 2000s when games got huge with G4, E3, etc. It's that all right, so
E3 was
gaming,
around before then, though.
it's because we were now into having two generations who had played home video games,
Yeah.
which is why it got there.
The only time that there was as big of a or bigger boom in video games was during the Atari boom, because it was new. It was a new thing. And then during the NES days.
um I think that Super Nintendo, Sega, when they were competing, the first Xbox versus PlayStation
Right,
2
but I'm
era
saying
were
I'm talking
pretty
about
similar.
like the equivalent popularity as to
Yeah.
how it is nowadays. Because everybody had an NES. Everybody.
Well, dude, in the early '80s, there was the first video game crash, and I think
And do you remember
we're
what the
rolling up on the
reason?
second.
And it's the same reason, right?
Oh,
The
the reasons are exactly the same.
crash-
Kind
Saturated
of.
market.
No,
Yeah.
the
Saturated
Atari,
market.
yeah.
Declining quality in the products that were being put into the market.
I mean,
Because they're just like, who fucking cares? They'll buy it.
who
Well,
else
yeah,
here? I had a
considering
copy of
Purina
ET.
Dog Chow made an our Atari game.
I mean, Imp, did you play? You played the ET Atari game, right?
I owned it when I was a kid.
Yeah, I had it too, and it was
terrible.
Man, could you ever figure out how to play that fucking game?
Yeah, I
It was
did.
like-
I figured it out, but I didn't play it often because
Yeah, but it wasn't like it was fun.
No, that's like my buddy had the Raiders of the Lost Ark game, and that was the same thing. You'd be like, "Oh, hey, Indiana Jones, this will be great." You had to play the game with both controllers. The second
Smokey, you
controller
missed
acted.
out.
The second controller acted like a menu. So one person got to
yeah.
control all the action, the other person had to do all the menu functions.
If Smokey
Now-
was a Sega kid, so the
This
Sega
will
was
start a war, but I'm gonna say it flat out. Regardless of every console that has ever been made, the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Super Nintendo are the fucking goats. They were the best systems ever made.
I'm not.
I would say
I'm not-
PlayStation 2 have it's Dreamcast has a lot of people who loved it. I don't know if you could count it since it just never succeeded. I mean, on a hardware versus air, like when the hardware for the Dreamcast came out, nothing touched the hardware.
No,
It just
but they
nobody
shot themselves
wanted
in the
it.
foot.
Yeah. So I see Slender's point because the NES and the Super Nintendo were you want to again why we're talking about gamers being such a large segment now is because of the NES and Super Nintendo. They saturated everybody's house
Mm-hmm.
for the entire late 80s into the mid 90s. So that created Generation 1 gamer.
Yeah.
Because look, there was a lot of Gen X kids who played Atari and other stuff who didn't get into gaming.
And
Yeah,
Soul Assassin said N64. I will grant that N64 was an amazing system that did a lot of really crazy things that were
the
really
N64
cool.
didn't even
It was an
outpace
experimental system.
Well, no, but the N64 didn't even outpace the PlayStation. The PlayStation
No, and
dominated
the
that
N64
tournament.
PlayStation also had a
was-
good year and a half on it.
Yeah, and the N64 was Nintendo's experimental platform where they were learning how to use 3D.
But to speak back to something that you guys were talking about, you know what? I mean, the reason PlayStation crushed Nintendo 64 was Final Fantasy.
Cartridges.
They had
It was cartridges.
Yeah,
was
they
both.
had PlayStation was getting the Final Fantasies of the world on their system.
And what sucks even more is Square had released.
Resident Evil. I mean, all those.
Well,
You know.
N64 ended up getting the Resident Evil
Well,
game.
Square
Eventually,
did the
but not-
partnership
not
with
initially.
Nintendo
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
did Mario RPG, which was fucking amazing.
Which they
Well-
re-released recently, by the way.
Yes,
if
they
anybody
did.
for the Switch, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
They the other because right before Final
Awesome
Fantasy
says,
VII
I
had even
never
come-
had a Super Tind like Tinder. Are you like, trying to? That's personal, and I don't know if
Maybe
you
he
need
was
to
like
bring it up.
a really little kid when Super Nintendo came out, and that's how he
Was-
called it.
was
It was
that
a
like-
Super Nintendo.
Was that the Hydrox cookie of gaming systems? I couldn't get you a Nintendo. I got you a Tindendo.
I mean, but the thing that sucked even more about Nintendo losing the Square games was before Final Fantasy VII came out. It was either Square or Nintendo released a tech demo. I think it
Yeah.
was Square, and it was going to be like what the new Final Fantasy was going to look like. And they happened to be using all the characters from Final Fantasy VI. Not that they were
Yes.
going to reuse those characters, but it looked better than what Final Fantasy VII looked like on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
because
it
something
did.
looks better doesn't mean it'll run and sell, though. They never got there
No,
to put
and
it out.
No,
so.
but
and I know some people will fight me on this, but like I rank graphics as like the 4th or 5th tier of what's important to me in a video game. Because some of my favorite games are like Undertale, which has fucking 8-bit graphics. Like I don't
Right.
care about the graphics nearly as much as a lot of other stuff in a game.
No, look at what I was saying. What was it last week after we were done with Party Animals? I turned around that night and finished up Final Fantasy 1. It took me 8 hours to beat it.
Yeah, I'm still plugging away at Final Fantasy 6 right now, the Pixel remaster.
Yeah,
But like I could go take the tower right now, but my characters are all only around level 50, and I'm like,
you know
God,
about
much
the
of a
boost
grind it
they
was
added.
with these characters.
You know they added quote unquote, for lack of a better term, cheats to the games, right?
Yes, they did. I know,
Okay.
but I can't bring myself to do it, man.
I just don't have the time anymore. I mean, I didn't use them in 1 because I didn't know they were in the Pixel remasters at that point.
Yeah.
But like I said, I beat Final Fantasy 1. Yeah, does it look better than the original NES version? Yes. That's really not hard to do in this day and age.
No,
But it's still,
but they did a Pixel remaster.
yeah,
So
it's a pixel remaster. At
it's
best,
looking good
it's
with
like
the
12-bit.
pixels.
It's like 12-bit.
Yeah, it's
It's
still
better than
sprite
8-bit, but it's
based.
not as nice as 16-bit stuff.
Because in all honesty, when they do the ones where they do the 3D render, I hate them. I fucking hate them. They look wrong to me.
I don't
I
mind
prefer the
3D
pixel
renders. What I have a
remasters.
problem with in this day and age, and this was done a lot in the PlayStation era and the original Xbox, pre-rendered backgrounds.
Yeah, those are awful.
They do not hold up anymore.
No, they don't.
Because my buddy bought the Onimusha remaster that came out a few years ago. Great game, but it was that era of Capcom where they were still using pre-rendered backgrounds and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the backgrounds were so bad. Everything else was nice and clean, except the backgrounds were this pixelated mess.
Yeah.
It's when you look back. I mean, you can still. I think was a Clownfish did a video where they were talking about how much people were playing retro games now.
Look what I showed you
80s,
guys
90s.
last week.
Yeah, exactly. Like the stuff you're doing with that. I mean, I have a MAME arcade system I built, and I can run all that stuff. I run it off an XP PC because I didn't get anything.
You don't need to.
I've had it, and I've had my arcade machine that I built for, over a decade now. So it's like I can run Pac-Man if I want to. I can turn on Galaga. I can do, and I can have let me tell you, when you get some people in there, you just turn on something like Galaga. It doesn't need to have 4K graphics for people to get competitive and have a good time, right?
No, I went to a party a couple years ago at my friend's house in PA, and I brought my Raspberry Pi, which was
Nice.
Loaded up, with a front end and blah blah blah. Every single person except for one person, because he's never played video games ever.
I don't know
never
what
been
kind of party
thing.
Soul Assassin's having. Pac-Man Graver.
Well, he followed up with Fever. I think he just.
I know he missed it.
Maybe an autocomplete situation. I don't know what's going on there.
If you lose, if he it was like Russian roulette with Pac-Man. If you die, you die.
I mean, and you're right. Every single person except for my one friend he's old enough where video games were not part of his life ever. Everybody picked up a controller and played something, be it Tetris, be it Super Mario Brothers, be it Pac-Man, whatever. It's one of those, it's one of those things where certain styles of games never really go out of style. Arcade games, because it's just a matter of killing a little bit of time and getting a high score.
Hey, Eclay.
Let's see. Smokey says the most fun I had as a kid was playing the Space Quest series on PC. Yeah.
Oh, dude, Space Quest. Space Quest 4 was absolutely amazing.
I remember
I
King's
I
Quest,
laughed
Space
my
Quest.
ass off immediately when at the beginning of Space Quest 4, when you start playing, the narrator's like, casually glancing up at the top of the screen, you notice that you're now in Space Quest 12.
Yeah, they were pretty good about the humor. Space Quest, King's Quest, Quest for
Space
Glory,
Quest
Police
for Glory
Quest.
are actually my favorites, but a lot of people didn't
Same.
play those ones.
Well, they also did away with, at least with Quest for Glory, they did away with the whole text-based thing. They were like
Yeah,
I believe they were before King's Quest and Space Quest. They were the first one to use more of a point and click.
yeah, but they worked. They worked
Yeah.
fine. Like, of the Quest for Glories, my favorites are probably 2 and 4, which is what is it? The one that happens in the desert, and then the one Shadows.
Is
Not
that the one that
Shadows.
had like the Transylvania type
Yeah,
atmosphere?
yeah.
Yeah.
Because each one of the Quest for Glory games centered around a region's lore. With the
Right.
first one being like the Scandinavian lore, and the second one being Arabian Nights kind of lore. The third one was African lore. The fourth one was that Russian,
Eastern
Russo,
European.
yeah, lore, and then the last one was Roman and Greek kind of mythology. So like all of them are amazing, and it's a really fun story. I
Yeah,
love those
those
games.
those were great games.
And you could save your character at the end of one and carry them over to the next one,
Yep.
which is really cool too.
Do you remember the old D&D gold box games? That's how people refer to them nowadays, anyways, is the gold boxes. They were put out by a company called SSI.
I don't. I how old are they? Because I didn't start playing D&D
DOS.
until high school.
They were on DOS. I mean, they were out when I was in high school and a little bit prior to that.
I was fucking around with DOS when I was a kid, so I don't know. I guess I missed them.
But they did the same thing because each series of those games was a story. So you had the first one that came out, you had Pools of Radiance, which led into Curse of the Azure Bonds, which led into The Secret of the Silver Blades, which led into Pools of Darkness.
I saw Pool of Radiance. I remember that one.
Yeah, that series. There's a whole bunch of them. They did the Pools story. Then they also did what they referred to as the Sword Coast Saga, which was like 2 games. And they did the main Dragon.
Did those include the Temple of Elemental Evil games?
No.
Okay,
that came out later.
Because the ones I did were a little bit of Temple of Elemental Evil. Obviously, I did Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. Haven't done 3 yet, but I'll pick it up at some point. And Icewind Dale was really good too.
Yes, it was.
And then Neverwinter Nights.
This is the best way to explain how old the gold box games were. They were still first edition.
Gotcha.
Second edition hadn't come out yet, or had just come out, or it came out during that.
So they were practically retro games when you were playing them.
They were still coming out as new though when I was playing them.
Okay.
It was pretty much the first line of D&D. It was like the first line of D&D games. Oh, I wouldn't say the first, but the first ones that were actually good, because there was a couple on the Intellivision.
Right.
But Releasing the Kraken's got it right there. That's a great game.
Clouds of Zine.
Might and Magic 4 and 5.
Okay.
Old school party RPG. But yeah, Might and Magic 4 and 5 combined is called the Clouds of Zine.
Duck Hunt and that damn dog. Yeah. I mean, you could have been playing. I mean, these were, I think, PC games at the time. I mean, I remember
the ones I was
King's
referring
Quest,
to. Yeah.
I mean, Soul, if you're a
Quest
90s brat, I believe I don't know about Imp, but I mean, me and Lil Chad are 80s brats, so
I am too.
We only got a decade.
Well, we're in that nice micro generation where we got to have kind of both. We're
Zennials,
Centennials. They use
we fell between the cracks of Gen X and the Millennials. So one side of the crack,
I'm Gen X.
Yeah, one side of the crack doesn't give a flying fuck, and the other side of the crack is too concerned with, too wrapped up in their own self-centeredness to give a shit about us.
Soul Assassin, rock on, 80s kids. Hello,
No,
fellow
I agree.
hello,
I was
fellow
born in
teenagers.
I was born in 82, and all through my growing up, I was told I was Gen X. And then like in the mid 2000s they were like, "You're a millennial." And I'm like, "No.
No.
I was Gen X. I was always Gen X."
Yeah, I was born in '76, so
Oh, so you're like old as fuck.
yeah. Thanks.
I want to feel like
God.
for us, Slender,
So
we
do you
need
like
that.
use a wheelchair or a cane or what?
You know, I get that shit enough on my birthday as it is. My friends will text me like, "Oh, happy birthday! What are you, 70 now?" Yeah, well,
Whereas
if I am, this 70-year-old's gonna put my foot in your ass when I see you next.
I was gonna say we need to do that meme with the astronauts where the one's holding the gun and it's like they're saying we're Gen X now. Yeah, always has been.
Yeah.
Always have been.
Always has been. No, it's this is gaming's not a hard thing to do right, and I don't, and it's because corporations. Like, if this is going to be shocking to say, I used to really love EA, like through the 80s and 90s. EA was a great video game company. They made a lot of the big great shit. EA Hockey was the
Oh yeah.
hockey you got. That was the, if it had the little yellow tab on the Genesis cartridge or
Yep.
whatever, that's you wanted to see EA was making that game. Madden, NHL
I mean, I never
hockey.
did. I hated EA from the beginning.
Well, here's the other thing though. Those games were good because they also still had competition.
You know why I hated EA so much?
Huh.
Because they bought Westwood Studios and ruined Command and Conquer.
Command and Conquer.
Yes,
was
they
so
did.
good.
I fucking
loved
loved the Command and Conquer series. I was
Tiberian
ranked number 2
Sun.
in America. Number 2 Command and Conquer
Red
player in
Alert.
America during CNC Gold Edition.
Why am I not surprised at that fact?
I mean, I played the number 1 guy. I could never beat him, and he taught me how to play.
As someone who did a bunch of LAN parties with that franchise, I can safely say that the remasters that they put out recently
Mm-hmm.
are very good.
Yeah, I played it on.
There's no gameplay changes, just a graphical update.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
it's available through Game Pass if you have Xbox Game Pass.
Which I do.
Yeah, it's on there.
You can
And
get,
they brought back the multiplayer as well. It's like you could go buy the Command and Conquer collection that exists, but none of the multiplayer works because it uses shit like GameSpy, which doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
But this one they brought it's solid. I was impressed. They did it as good of a job as Blizzard did with the Diablo 2 remaster.
Yeah. But then EA bought out Westwood and they were like, we're gonna focus on making this an esports type game. And I was like, that's fucking awesome. And then they released their first iteration. And I was like, what did you fucking do?
Wasn't it Generals?
I don't know if it was Generals. I think it was Tiberian Dawn.
Maybe, yeah, because
favorite-
Tiberian Sun was decent.
Tiberian Sun
and
was
that's
the
the thing
original
is-
one, wasn't it?
No.
Mm.
The original was just
Command and
Command and Conquer. Then there was
Then-
Red Alert. Then
Yep.
Tiberian Sun was the last one they made.
No, Red Alert was after Tiberian Sun.
Not the
Yeah,
I don't
because
think
remember
so.
the
You
Nod
know, actually,
one. The Nod
you
one
might-
was first. Then Albert Einstein went back in time and killed Hitler, and that's when you got the Red Alert series where you're fighting the Russians.
Nope, you're totally fucking wrong.
Pretty.
September 1995, Command and Conquer. November 1996, Red Alert. No, August 1999, Tiberian Sun. August 2000, Red Alert 2.
Mm,
And then they
I was
also
like-
made it Westwood also made a couple of Dune games. Dune
Yeah.
2000 and Dune 2.
Oh, dude, Dune 2000 was fucking good.
Yeah, it was because it added another layer of strategy and what you had to do compared to Command and Conquer. Like you had to throw down those concrete slabs, otherwise worms would come along and tear up your base.
Yeah.
if
And
you
the
walk without
fact that
rhythm,
you
you
could-
won't attract the worm.
Well, and that's the funny thing is like depending upon which house you were playing as, like the Atreides could call in like a bunch of fucking rebels.
Yep.
And the Harkonnen could do like this giant fucking behemoth tank they could summon.
Yep. And I forgot
the
what
Ordos.
that's who it was. Okay.
Yeah, I played the Ordos like nobody's business, but they had the rocket tank that would fire a rocket that would turn an enemy unit to your side.
Oh, that's always great.
Yeah. Fun times.
Command and Conquer was. I mean, my best gaming PC gaming experience from the like mid late 90s was Command and Conquer, StarCraft, and then Half-Life. Those were the best three
Yeah.
games, like especially the amount of mods that came out for
Mhm.
Half-Life.
Oh yeah, same with
Damn.
the LAN
Dude,
parties. Me and my buddies would do would either be a shooter night or a strat night, and strat nights were the Command and Conquer games and another game franchise called Total Annihilation.
and
Never did
StarCraft,
StarCraft.
the custom maps that people made where they started making like you weren't even playing an RTS anymore, like they do fucking RPGs and
Well,
like
yeah, that's where
the ancients and everything.
Warcraft 3 is what gave us freaking MOBAs.
It gave us
Defense of the Ancient.
and Dota specifically was
Yeah, was a mod
created
for was a
like
mod slash map for Warcraft 3.
they were absolutely amazing.
And the funny thing is Blizzard recently tried to capitalize on that, but in the worst way possible. When they released Warcraft 3, there was a provision that any custom game modes or maps that you created, you didn't own. They did.
Of course.
Because they didn't want to get screwed over like they did the last time.
Well, and here's the thing, right? Let's rephrase that a bit. They really didn't get screwed over. It's not like they didn't make a fuck ton of money off of Warcraft. It's just somebody made a mod that was so popular that it was getting a lot of attention, and they were not able to monetize it.
Mm-hmm. Because Blizzard did turn around and put out their own MOBA, and it wasn't all that good. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't that good.
And why does this always have to be this weird fucking zero-sum game? Like Bethesda does the same fucking shit. It's like, oh, somebody made a really kick-ass thing in your game, and you're just desperate to shut it down or make it start making money for you and not them. Like, who fucking cares, man?
You'd think Bethesda would be more grateful for the mod community saving
their ass. Something tells me that those devs hate the mod community.
Dude, there is not a single Bethesda game that is worth a shit until the devs fix it.
Well, then the devs need to
get
off.
The mods fix it. The
devs need to get off their ass and make fucking games that work before the mod community.
They need to change their engine. They refuse to change their game engine. Their game that game engine, Gamebryo, if they're still using it, is terrible.
Dude, that game engine is older. It's older than the Dark Souls engine at this point.
Yeah, it is. But I'll give...
And the Dark Souls engine, after Elden Ring, they're like, listen, we got to make a new engine. This thing's fucking old.
Yeah, but it still works. It still does what they want it to do. I mean, have there been bugs in FromSoft games at launch? Yes. Asking for a bug-free game, 100% bug-free game is next to impossible. Yeah. It's just a matter of how those bugs come across. If it's everybody comes across them in general gameplay, that's kind of shit. But if you're, people running around doing stupid things and they come across a bug, it's like, well, yeah, the devs didn't anticipate anybody doing that.
Dude, the worst I've run into in one of the Dark Souls games is a weird seam in the topography that causes me to either get stuck or fall through the map. And it's so fucking rare, You practically have to be trying to do it.
Oh yeah, I mean the only bug I've ever really run into in for example, the first Dark Souls, the dragon you take the tail of right at the beginning of the game.
Yep.
I had him fly off and then die. It's happened to me.
I've had him fly off and not come back a couple times.
He flew off, and I'm progressing on. All of a sudden, 10k souls out of nowhere.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay, that's a bug I'm happy about. 10k souls at that point in the game? Yeah, you're gonna get stupid.
Yeah, that's like 8 levels,
if not more.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a pretty fun. Like when you get those kinds of glitches, that's just always.
I mean, because that's also like a buddy of mine. When Elden Ring came out, it was his first FromSoft game, and I told him about the sleeping dragon. He was like,
go hit it and you get levels.
He's like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I'm like, why? He's like, well, what if I need it for a story quest or something? I'm like, you don't? How do you know? Because people would have discovered it already.
Yeah.
I was like, you don't
explain
understand
something to you. You're never gonna find the story on your first playthrough.
No.
What you're gonna do is what the rest of us do, and you're gonna go look at Vati Vidya's shit, and you'll learn the story that way.
Mm-hmm. But then he was like, "Oh, well, isn't that an exploit?" I'm like, "No."
No, it's
What the-
it's there as it's one of the many ways that there's an easy mode without there being an easy mode. Because there
Correct.
doesn't need to be a fucking easy mode, but there are tricks.
Oh yeah, and I'll be the first to admit that I use every trick in the book when I play FromSoft games. If it's
Yeah,
in the
and
game,
that's the other thing.
I have no shame in doing it. I don't care
It's-
what you think about it.
Yeah, and especially with Elden Ring, like, oh, you need to make an easy mode. You need to make an easy mode. There's a fucking easy mode. It's called Ashes of War. Use them.
It's also called magic.
Yeah, like I'll tell you what. There are a couple bosses I wouldn't. I don't know how I'd beat them without an Ash of War. You know,
Yeah, yeah. There's
Without-
a couple that are.
without busting
What
out the
What
mimic
if
tier.
not getting out of the tutorial is how you play the real game? Easy mode beyond an easy mode? Oh, you mean reviewer mode? Yes.
That's pretty much what it comes down to.
That's going to be that new feature.
Well, reviewers
Sony's
want
patenting.
spectator mode. They
that's
just want
what-
a spectator mode.
You saw that story where Sony has a patent for AI assisted gameplay,
Yeah, I saw
where
that.
basically if you just want to, you can put your control down and let the AI play for you. And
Or
watch
if
the
you
game.
suck as bad as a as a games journalist, it'll be like, oh wow, they suck, and it'll start making the game easier. To try
Well,
and
haven't you
allow
noticed
a
that-
game journo to get there?
Ever since the fiasco that was that one game journalist that couldn't get out of the tutorial of Cuphead, you ever notice they don't do video clips anymore?
Which, by the way, like, I got news for you. Every mechanic in Cuphead is a basic mechanic from the
Yes.
80s or early 90s. If
Very
you
much
cannot figure out the tutorial in Cuphead,
He
you're
couldn't
not
do the
a
dash
gamer.
jump.
Yeah, you're not a gamer and therefore should not be a games journalist.
I still remember how cool it was once they started introducing the tutorial level for you. Like, because I never wanted to read the instruction booklet that came with the game to get the controls down. I just
Oh,
wanted to
nobody
start I just turn it on, start playing. And then that's when they started introducing the tutorial level. I remember playing the Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver tutorial level, all those kinds of ones where you finally had somebody, like, it was gameplay, but it's teaching you how to play the game. And I was like,
That's
was
one of the things
plenty.
I think I appreciate the most about
easy peasy.
FromSoft games is it harkens me back to my gaming as a kid. There was no tutorial. There was no easy mode. You put the game in and you played.
Well, like
And-
like dash jump, right? Like Mega Man X, great example. Dash jump just became the way I moved.
Yeah.
Once you get those fucking boots that let you do the dash jump,
I mean, all Cuphead is a cross between Metal Slug and Mega Man.
yes, very much so.
And those are two of the most simplistic gameplays. Even Mega Man, people are like, oh, it's not simple. Yeah, it kind of is.
It's a minute to learn, a lifetime to master. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
if you get Mega Man down, that's one of those ones you can speed run in like 10, 20 minutes.
oh yeah,
Oh, yeah, especially the first one because the levels are not very long. That's my only quote unquote speed run thing, and I never recorded it because it wasn't a thing at the time. I used to run emulators on my OG Xbox, and I had a couple buddies over. We're hanging out, doing our thing, and we decided to play some retro shit, which even at the time was still retro. And I ended up beating the original Castlevania in 45 minutes.
nice.
I only died once, and it wasn't until I got to the Dracula stage where I died.
Yeah, that's good.
Could I do it again? No, absolutely not.
Was Simon's Quest the second one?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's also my personal favorite franchise. One of them, anyways.
What's your favorite?
It's
What's
a
your
toss-up.
favorite?
It's honestly a toss-up between three
Symphony
different
Night.
games: Symphony of the Night, Rondo of Blood, and Castlevania 4.
I
I
just
really
know
like-
from Imp's age group that Symphony Night's gonna be in there.
Dude, that game was absolutely almost perfection.
I really liked Super Castlevania.
Yeah, 4. That
The
was
first-
very good.
Yeah, where you could like hold the whip button and then just kind of like jiggle it around.
Which
you-
did nothing.
Yeah, but it did a little bit of damage. It just kept doing it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, out of those three, those are like my top three, probably.
Yeah. Symphony of the Night is a close number 2 for me, but
Oh, it's so good.
it's like, and that's why I placed the Super Nintendo in such high regard. And this, in my opinion, did not happen with the N64, but all of the mainline Nintendo franchises from the Nintendo Entertainment System,
Carried over.
when they carried over to the Super Nintendo, those first installations were like the ultimate realization of everything that franchise game should be. Super Mario World was literal
That's my favorite Mario
perfection
game.
in my eyes.
It's my favorite Mario game.
Super Contra was fucking great. Super Castlevania,
Yeah.
chef's fucking kiss. Like,
Link to
they
the
really
Past.
nailed it. Link to the Past is my favorite Legend of Zelda game.
Same. Super Metroid's amazing.
Yes, like,
You had Final Fantasy 2, 3, and Chrono Trigger.
and did you get a little bit of that with the N64?
Yeah.
With
did.
Mario 64, yes, but with most of the other franchises, it didn't hit the same way.
I mean, everybody really likes to talk up Ocarina of Time. And
I
it's good.
don't like it.
I personally think the games that came later when they had the 3D more polished was better. I think Wind Waker is better than Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, I think, like, I love a lot, like, Legend of Zelda is probably my favorite of the Nintendo lores. I love Link to the Past. It's my favorite. A close second would be Breath of the Wild now.
I couldn't get into it.
I loved it. I finished it. I didn't get all the fucking seeds, but I did damn near
I
everything
had
else
two
that could be
major
done in the game.
complaints, and one of my buddies was like, "Yeah, I can understand that." One was the weapon breaking,
Yeah, I hated that.
and the fact there really wasn't that many dungeons. And I don't consider those little puzzle things to be dungeons.
Yeah, those are probably
had
the
that-
two biggest weaknesses in my opinion.
And I had that complaint when it came to Twilight Princess. Oh, we're gonna give you 3 super dungeons. Thanks.
Yeah, I
That's
didn't like
what
Twilight Princess.
'Cause that's what
I mean, I
really
liked
want.
it, but it didn't hold my interest, so I never finished it.
I
'Cause it's
actually
just-
really,
it was a
I really
slog.
like the aesthetics of Twilight Princess.
Oh, the
It just-
aesthetics were great.
Yes.
The gameplay
Agreed.
was a little chunky, and I think part of that was it was built to be a GameCube game, and they had to
No, it was the other way
retrofit
around.
it in. No, it was GameCube, and then they put it on the Wii.
Yeah, they
Well-
tried to retrofit it to the Wii.
Well, because the thing is, I don't know which one.
Because it
first,
came out for
because-
the GameCube as well.
Yeah, oh, it did. Yeah, but there was a couple of differences. Like one, all the maps were mirrored.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so because they stopped like it was like 3/4 of the way through development. They like, oh, we're putting the Wii out. We need to have let's get a Zelda.
Gotta have a Zelda game.
Hey, were they stupid in doing that though? It was a launch title for the Wii.
Well, no, they weren't, because Zelda games move fucking consoles. The whole reason I have a Nintendo Switch is because I wanted to play Breath of the Wild.
Was that or was that not that wasn't a Switch launch title, was it?
I don't
Breath
know
of
if
the
it was at launch, but it was a.
I believe
Switch
it
title.
was. I think it was.
I think it was.
I think it was
think it was,
the
too.
launch title. And
Now here's the thing.
it
I
was a
don't know if it
system
was a
mover, too.
game that was. I don't know if it was out at launch, but we knew Breath of the Wild was coming to the Switch when the Switch was
Quickly.
announced.
Yeah,
So
and it was
what-
coming quickly.
It was a Twilight Princess situation again. Breath of the Wild was going to be a Wii U game,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they delayed it to make it a launch title for Switch.
Well, going
Yeah,
from the
I
Wii U
just-
to the Switch isn't really as big of a change as going from the GameCube to the Wii was.
No,
'cause of
and
motion
they've
controls.
yeah, and people sleep on the fact that the Wii U was basically a prototype for the Switch.
Oh yeah.
With that unit with the monitor. It was basically, I mean, that
Mhm.
was your Switch. Your main control for the Wii U was effectively your Switch prototype.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The difference was that's when Nintendo was like, okay, we're gonna take all our knowledge from our Game Boy Advances and 3D, Game Boy 3D and all the other whatever
Yeah, the
handhelds
2DS,
they-
3DS, all that
the
stuff.
3DSs, and we're gonna, instead of doing a new handheld and a new console, we're just gonna do one, and we're gonna make it both. And it was brilliant because the Switch is still, it's actually, when we travel, my family and I, it's super convenient to be able to pack up that Switch and be able to take the game, like to be able to game on the go if we want to,
Yep.
and you
Or if
can
you're
take.
stuck at a hotel or something, you could just have, if you have the dock with you, can just hook it up to the TV.
I also love using the SD cards as the games.
Hmm.
I like that better than I for a console at least. I don't like digital downloads because they fill up your hard drive fast.
And it does that on PC too, but then again, you get the hard drive size of a god.
I mean, 12 terabytes. I've got some room.
Yeah. I'm here. I am happy with my like 6.
I
That's
mean,
only because I had the leftovers from my Plex server, which, by
I
the
was
way,
gonna say, are we talking about our computers? Because I've only got 5, I think.
I may
'cause
not even have 6.
I've
'cause,
got a 4 gig solid state, and then I've got a 1 or a 2 gig for the operating system.
yeah, I've by the way, my the 20 terabytes that I switched into my Plex server are down to 1.3 terabytes left.
Jeez.
Well, what's funny is that thing I showed you guys last week, the emulator setup,
Mhm.
that's sitting on a just 3 terabyte drive, and I have 529 gigs free because I also started working with more modern stuff, and some of that gets rather large rather quick.
Oh yeah.
You
Well,
know, when I start seeing games in like double digits of gigs, I'm like, are you kidding me? This is an arcade game? How?
Let's see. Also, one says, "Be careful when buying used Switch games. The authenticate code could be swiped and the game won't work." Interesting. Did not even know about
Yeah.
that.
And
That's
Soul
why.
Assassin up there said, "Come on, Imperatus. All you need is soda, Cheetos, or various bags of chips or cocaine, and redo Castlevania."
Yeah, at my age, that last one probably is not a good idea.
Dude, what you do is you take the cocaine, right? And you,
Oh, this will
like
be
a
good.
pixie stick, pour it into Mountain Dew,
Oh yeah, because
and
I
then
just want
drink the Mountain Dew.
because I want to see my heart leap out of my chest before it explodes.
All right. So all of our
You want your
gaming
heart to
talk.
come out of your chest like an alien.
So all of our gaming talk is going to lead into something I want to share with Slender, which is that Fallout
Oh, it looks like
is
I need to go get another drink. I'll be back.
oh, you son of a bitch, is crushing. Like it's the only show I think, it's the only non-Netflix show to ever have over 2 billion watch minutes in consecutive weeks. It's
Hmm.
it's a giant mega hit. Like Slender, this is the overall chart. You remember
You
when
know
we were
he's
looking?
gone, right?
I'm gonna speak to him like
Okay,
he's here
fair enough.
because I know he's listening.
Mm.
He's muted the mic, but I know he's still listening
He's muted,
because
not deafened.
yeah, he because he'll pop up in the chat and say things. But so Fallout was a good show that people liked, and I know that now we're getting into the trendy hipster we're gonna hate it phase. But it was
Are you done
perfectly
talking about Fallout yet?
no.
Damn it.
But
I
look at
thought you
that. All right,
liked the show, Slender.
he
I
likes
do.
it, but Mahler's slowly earworming his
Gotcha.
way into not liking it.
No, Mahler has convinced me that the story is written terribly. Now, Goggins fucking he does a great job with what he's given and is amazing, and I still love the show. I just have to admit that the writing is terrible.
Release them correct. I kind of like Fallout. It's cheesy, but it's definitely better than a ton of new stuff. I'm only up to episode 5 though.
I mean, I've heard good things about it, but I'm that person that legitimately wants to see Hollywood burn.
Yeah,
It's-
well, here's the
so-
thing, Release
perfectly-
McCracken. I'm
Okay.
not going to give anything away. No spoilers. But in the first episode, you probably had some guesses as to who the real villain was and who the real heroes were and all that good shit. And in the last episode, you'll probably find that you were right, and you'll be pissed that you were right.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's not good writing.
Nope. And it's very agenda-centered writing too, unfortunately.
But how obnoxious is it? Is it something that can be
If-
ignored, or is it?
If you ask Lil Chad, he'd probably say it's something that can be ignored. If you ask me, I'd say I wasn't happy about it, but it didn't ruin the show for me.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean,
I didn't ignore it though.
Right. I mean, you guys, I've said in your chat actually, the last time I went to the movies was Two Towers. So I'm not a movie guy. I watch movies, but I don't give a shit about them.
The villain is your mom.
I hope he's not talking to me, because if the villain is my mom, I'm dealing with the undead, and that's a ooh, I don't even know. Like,
That's a whole different ball of wax.
Where would she put her phylactery? You know.
Where's one of my friends? Bend over. I'll show you.
All right, Christmas Vacation reference. Good. Where are you gonna put that tree? You can't talk to me like that. I wasn't talking to you. No.
I love that movie.
Yeah, so Fallout is a genuine, like, it is probably the first non-Netflix genuine bona fide streaming mega hit that I think we've ever seen, looking at the streaming ratings. Then we get the normal ones we used to see, like Grey's Anatomy. And
yeah, dude, the fact that Amazon cracked it is very surprising.
It is. Well, here's the thing. Only things, in my opinion, is that and this is, again, my strict opinion, that they put out on their streaming services any good with some of their anime titles, and they didn't create those.
Amazon.
Honestly,
no, I'm actually thinking Netflix on that. I'm sorry.
Clarkson's Farm is the other.
Yeah, well, Clarkson's Farm. Up until Fallout and Clarkson's Farm and the Grand Tour, though, the only good thing they've ever made
and Reacher were also pretty good.
I didn't think they were that great. I liked Alpha House, and they canceled that because apparently they didn't like that it was painting Republicans in too favorable a light. And I was like, damn, this was like the best show you guys had going, and you canceled it because you didn't like its politics.
Yeah, they thought they would be cute by trying to make it funny by making fun, like making the Republicans the joke. But because it was well written and well acted, they came off as relatable, good people. And so, like, oh, nope, got to cancel that. John Goodman, I think, was in that one, right?
Yeah, he was the main character. He was fucking great in that show.
Yeah, release them to Kraken. I don't have much hope for a second season, though. The first season usually are to get people to watch before they drop the DEI bomb forward. Pun intended. That's what happened with The Boys. The first season was pretty strong.
I am of the distinct impression that may be what happens with this show too.
What I'm hoping is that Fallout being this successful actually moves them. This is one of those times where I think because it's so successful, it might move them away from that, because then they can genuinely monetize it.
So, and they'll be like, "Don't fuck this up."
Yes.
Well, the other thing too,
I wish that were the case.
I was listening to I forgot who it was when I was at work today, but they made a comment about how it might have been Stuttering Craig actually, but they made we're talking about how it seems how Hollywood's slowly backing away from all the DEI stuff. Slowly,
very slowly.
And now games are jumping feet first into it, because it came out that Activision has now put a DEI officer into each studio for each game.
Every single fucking game. That was
so.
But well, before we pivot back to gaming, as far as the Fallout show goes, I will remain hopeful but not optimistic. And now keep going.
But it makes me wonder now, with them backing out of it, it's like, okay, we got these people hooked. Now we're going to hit them with, whatever. I don't know if they will, because they're looking at stuff like, for example, and I think you're planning on talking about it, but Doctor Who, look how that's doing. Not well. Star Wars, most people are apathetic towards it because of what they did. Star Trek, same thing.
No, Star Wars is a destroyed brand. Like, the damage that has been done to that brand, the only way that comes back is if you put it in the vault for
like
5 years. Yeah, 5 years.
You need more.
To a decade.
You'd probably need at least a decade.
Yeah, nobody's gonna fucking, like, that's not coming back. Not right now.
No,
Doctor Who is the same thing.
Doctor Who's the same thing. Star Trek's the same thing. Marvel's right behind him. If what comes past Deadpool and Wolverine is bad, it's done.
Dude, the female Doctor did so much damage to the brand, and now Ncuti Gatwa isn't making it any better. Okay, and then you try to introduce a new villain by the name of, played by Jinx Monsoon. That, I mean, have you ever looked up a picture of Queen Elizabeth I?
Yeah.
I haven't looked it up, but I've seen them.
Holy shit! Is
Yeah.
Disney spitting on the royal family with this character?
But just to so I said this in chat earlier today. I think I forget which channel I was watching. Live streaming. Doctor Who, when they were talking about how like successful the new Doctor Who relaunch was decently popular, did okay with the Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper first season, but it was when they brought in David Tennant and when they
Dude,
had
David Tennant is my favorite. Eccleston is my second favorite.
no, but so when they brought in David Tennant and they kicked up the romance between him and Rose,
Mm-hmm.
and then basically they had, if you look at the
Oh,
casting,
you
they
mean
went from
that heterosexual
yes,
romantic tension?
yes, so they went from David Tennant with Rose to Matt Smith with Karen Gillan, followed by Matt Smith with the brunette girl, the little anyway. The whole point that the thing that got Doctor Who super famous and huge in the United States was attractive young male lead with sexual chemistry with attractive young female lead. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what and because the girls bought into it. I
Yes,
was
almost
going
like the natural order of things.
trust me. I don't know. Did you may not have. You're probably. I don't know if you're a comic convention type goer,
No, I don't
but
like being around that many people at
all
once.
right. So I've been
Especially those kind of people. They're a little too fucking into it sometimes.
yeah. So I've been going to
Yeah.
conventions my entire adult life. Been to San Diego, been to New York.
Oh, so
All
you're
like
those kind of people.
I am those kinds of people. But what I can tell you is
Mm.
it was like the Tenant when like people talk about David Tennant, but it was Matt fucking Smith that unlocked like the cheat code to get like all of a sudden girls were dressed up like Doctor Who, and it
Dude,
was
I know
all
it's gonna
because
get
they loved
clipped,
that
but I
shit.
gotta issue a correction. By the way, I'm those kind of people as well. That's a joke. I don't have anything against those kind of people. I would actually love to hang out with those people. Mostly the thing that precludes me from going to cons is that I am a broke dick. So I have no fucking money for them.
Yeah. So it and that's so when they went to Capaldi, Doctor Who was already on the downward spiral because Capaldi was actually a throwback to the traditional Doctor Who,
Mm-hmm.
and girls did not. Nope, they were checked out of that, and you can see the ratings start going down when it's Capaldi. Then the reason they call if you they started taking like years off like with Capaldi like I think because his contract required him to be Doctor Who for a certain like a number of years instead of series, and so they took like 18 months between seasons like some crazy thing, and they replaced him with Jodie I think as a Hail Mary to try to get girls back. Not because I mean I know that they were trying to there's an agenda behind it, but I honestly think they were just trying to because remember if you're the BBC, you remember what else happened at the same time? Those dumbasses fired Jeremy Clarkson from Top Gear, which caused Hammond and May to quit as well. And you know from a business standpoint, Top Gear was their most profitable franchise, licensed all over the world. Like if you want to,
Mm-hmm.
hundreds, 150 countries licensed, paid the BBC to license and play Top Gear in their country, and they
Oh,
all,
you want to know how successful Top Gear was?
yeah, you
I'll
watched
give you an
it.
easy way. It does bigger numbers than the Super Bowl. Consistently did bigger numbers than the Super Bowl when Clarkson, Hammond, and May were Top Gear.
Mm-hmm.
The show consistently did bigger numbers than the fucking Super Bowl.
Yeah, so when BBC fired that was their cash cow, and so they were trying desperately to do anything. And I think yeah, there was agenda with Jodie Whittaker being the Doctor Who, but I also think it was and Slender's mentioned this, it was I think earlier, it's a desperate ploy to get attention. To try to like, hey, like see me, pay attention to me. It's like the video game companies like that's all they didn't have anything else to try to get people back and it didn't work either, which is why Chudy Gatwa, whatever his name is this is just following the same thing. They are desperate to try to get attention back on Doctor Who and it's not working. So it's gonna get canceled.
Dude,
It's
you put out 2 episodes. The first one was just a shitty episode with a guy who doesn't know what it means to play the doctor. And the second one, you tried to introduce this villain that just, I mean, they turned it into a fucking burlesque show. It's just this dude cross-dressing the whole time, and like he do you remember Van Helsing?
Yes.
The movie Van Helsing. Do you remember how Dracula in that movie didn't make any fucking sense? Because he literally, at the top of his lungs, screamed at his brides, I feel nothing. It's like, well, you are screaming really loud for a guy who says you don't have any emotions.
I think he was talking about physically tactile sensations.
No,
being
he
alive.
wasn't. He goes on a whole speech about how his heart is hollow. He feels no emotion. He's not afraid. He's not happy. He's not sad. And he says the whole speech screaming at the top of his lungs. That's the kind of acting they have in the newest Doctor Who episode. Because fucking Jinx Monsoon thinks that acting is yelling. And the louder he yells, the harder he's acting.
All right, so this is a brand new clip that that we just got from the Uber Geek who shared it because Doctor Who airs in England on Fridays. I guess this is the level of
This is
high
episode
quality.
3.
This is episode 3. This is the high quality writing you're gonna get.
I mean, most armies would notice that they were fighting smoke and shadows, but not this lot, Ruby. You know why? Because they have faith. Shut up! Faith! The magic word that keeps you never having to think for yourself. I mean, most
we're going after Faith again. A great fucking job.
Did you notice the collars? Like they're a future version
Yeah,
of the
they're
Catholic
dressed
Church?
like fucking priests. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Ooh, loud talking. At least we're not whisper acting anymore. Yes. Well, he had to be really loud about making that point.
This.
It's pretty bad.
You know what? We've reached quiet Slender. I don't fucking care. Do what
Quiet
you want to
rage.
do with Doctor Who.
Quiet
It's
rage.
yours now. You can have whatever you want. You can bend Doctor Who over the table and violate it in incredible new ways. It's yours. Do with it as you fucking will.
Yeah. Oh, did you see Dabney Coleman passed away? Apparently, that's terrible.
Who's that?
That's, Dabney Coleman, the actor. You don't remember who Dabney Coleman is?
I'd have to see the character they played. It's rare that I'm shocked that I remember Jinx Monsoon from Doctor Who, but I remember his name because he's a piece of shit and I hate him.
Let me see. Did you ever? I'm trying to. All right, let's see. We've got. He was older here.
Oh shit!
You recognize him now?
Yeah, he's pretty fucking awesome. Actually,
He was in
he's
War
been in a lot of good
Games,
stuff.
9 to 5.
He was in You've Got Mail, and I like You've Got Mail because I'm a big fat sap. But
Yep, Yellowstone. He did. You have to go back to like his heyday was in the He was Chief Quimby in the Inspector Gadget movies.
Inspector Gadget, Jumanji, of course.
That was a voice for the cartoon. He did a TV show called Mad Men of the People.
I actually watched that TV show. I liked it.
He was Mr. Drysdale in the Beverly Hills Hillbilly movie. But here we go. Columbo.
Yeah.
But he did Short Time, where he was a police officer who thought he was dying, but they gave him the wrong test. Good stuff.
Good evening, Davina Duckworth.
Oh, hello. Or as
that's all I had. You can keep going now.
Or as culture calls Davinia for some reason.
Yes, yeah, Davinia.
But this is where he was Dragnet. You remember the Dragnet movie? I love that movie actually, with Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks.
Yeah, dude, Dan Aykroyd's a fucking treasure.
He was the Hugh Hefner character in the Dragnet movie. So, Man with One Red Shoe.
Oh, the Muppets Take Manhattan. That's a good one.
Yeah, he was in War Games, right? You know, he was the
Hell,
I
actually,
believe the
I remember
contractor.
that Cloak and Dagger movie.
Yeah, that was the
Yep.
one where he was the imaginary friend for the kid.
Yep.
9 to
Was
5.
that based around a video game, or was the video game based around the movie?
So he was pretty prolific character actor in a lot of great movies, a lot of great roles. So sad to see him pass away. All right, I might as well get to the.
We
Go
should
ahead.
cover that question.
What's the question? Favorite Muppet?
Favorite Muppet?
Animal.
I like Gonzo. I think it's Gonzo, the blue one with the
Gonzo with
hooked
the
nose.
with the hook nose. Yeah,
Yeah,
And the chicken fetish.
yeah, I like
that's
Gonzo.
true.
Oh, actually, let me walk that back. My favorite are the hecklers up in the balcony.
Yeah, for sure. That would definitely be mine. But if we're going to count something that's not a Muppet that Jim Henson did, I'd have to say the hag from Dark Crystal,
Oh,
Okay,
what was her
okay.
name?
the one with the eye who could pull out her eye.
Yeah, not any of the labyrinth stuff. You're not into that one.
It was okay. I watched Dark Crystal a lot more as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
No idea why, but that's just how it worked.
I couldn't. Those movies scared me too much when I was a kid.
Didn't
Like
bother-
when I was a kid, I couldn't watch Pee-wee's Big Adventure because it terrified me. I'm not even kidding. I watched that movie and I was like, "Oh, this is so cool! I'm such a happy little kid watching this movie." And then fucking what's her name in the fucking
Large
semi
Marge.
with the claymation face. It was dark out. I was in the basement. My mom was up in the kitchen making dinner. My dad hadn't come home from work yet, and that scene happened. And I didn't
Alright.
know what to do. I was afraid. I wanted to go to my mom, but I didn't want to run by the laundry room because I pictured Large Marge coming out of the laundry room and pulling me in and me never being seen again. It was horrifying.
All right, we got Smokey saying animal, so he agrees with me. Animal's the goat. Rooster McCracken that ripped Abney. He liked him best in Modern Problems. That was with Chevy Chase. That was an interesting movie. The old dudes and Animal are awesome. Yeah, the old dudes. E-Clay asked if you can include Sesame Street characters. Yes, because the original characters were all Muppets created by Jim Henson.
I mean,
so
if we're going Sesame Street, Oscar the Grouch.
Sam the Eagle.
Again, I'm
Davina-
not surprised.
Davina says. So Sam the Eagle's another good choice.
Yeah.
Sam the Eagle's good. Yep.
I'm also a fan of Kermit.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure is amazing.
Only because the amount of memes you can do for that one Muppet.
It was the anniversary of Marge's accident a few months ago. I don't even know. Like, did people actually figure out when her accident happened?
Well, she talked about it. I think
Yeah.
she even gave dates and what had happened and everything. I don't know.
Or
It's fucking
either
horrifying.
it's either that or somebody saw a calendar at some point in the movie that was quote unquote accurate. And then they gave 3 years ago, 4 years ago on this very night or whatever, and they extrapolated it from info in the movie. Or like you said, she actually gave dates. I don't remember. It's been a very long time since I've seen that movie.
Soul S.
I never
did you
watched
see
it
the
again
Netflix
after that.
one? Yeah. Soul
I don't
S
even know how the
asking-
movie ends. I don't know if he ever got his bike back.
He did, and then when
He
they
does.
made the movie of it, he didn't need to stay and watch it because he lived it. So, come on, Dottie, let's go. So, I do not know what the name of the prawn Muppet is, but I know.
I didn't
which
even know
one
there
you're
was a
talking about.
prawn Muppet.
Yeah, Guy
Is it Guy
Smiley?
Smiley?
No, that's not.
He's the used car salesman that's always on the TV, right? Or like is he the
Yeah.
weatherman? He's the
Pepe
weatherman.
It's Pepe the King Prawn is the name of the character. That was, I looked it up, and let me.
So here's one. I think you guys are probably old enough to remember this. You guys remember Fraggle Rock?
Yeah, 100%.
Down in Fraggle Rock.
And I never understood why.
About.
Oh, that character. Okay.
Yeah, because Fraggle Rock had all the little builder dudes that would build these
Yeah,
giant
yeah, yeah.
They were called the
structures,
Doozers.
and then the Fraggles would eat them.
They
My-
would eat the construction, not the doozers.
Yeah, they weren't eating the doozers. They were eating the things they built.
But do you remember the episode of Fraggle Rock where they stopped eating the doozer construction and then the doozers finished all their construction, so they had no more jobs? So they asked the Fraggles to start eating again, so they would have purpose.
So this was like the Mouse Utopia experiment.
Yeah, so the doozers were the doozers existed to build, and when the Fraggles stopped eating, they had they finished building. They were all jobless and
the
purposeless.
Fraggles destroying everything they'd ever built and cared about. We're giving them purpose.
Raison
Wow,
d'etre.
Yep.
It was really fucking socialist viewpoint right there, isn't it?
Well, the reason I bring it up is, the Muppet Show was a primetime hit.
Pepe was in the 70s, yeah.
But yet Fraggle Rock was only on cable, at least when I was growing up.
So that
It was on HBO.
That's because HBO gave Jim Henson the deal where he got complete creative freedom to do, because Fraggle Rock was a really big thing he wanted to do, to be very Fraggle Rock is one of the greatest kid shows. It's right up there with Mr. Rogers. It's just completely good, great messages for kids to watch. There's nothing like bad about it. And there's no toys for it or any of the other stuff that ended up eventually, once Henson was gone and they monetized everything. So he made the deal with HBO because they agreed to pay and give him the full control he wanted to make the show he wanted. And now Fraggle Rock had new episodes on Apple Plus because they paid the Henson Company to make them.
Right.
And they're wrong. Was it the line from Stewie on Family Guy that I always think of is Jim Henson had a wait and see attitude, and now we have wrong sounding Muppets.
Oh, yeah. And then they had Kermit come out and he was
yay. Yeah, we didn't have HBO growing up, so I never saw that show.
I mean, I didn't have
Fraggle
cable
Rock
a lot.
Did have a talking trashy.
Yes, it did.
She was the great trashy.
I mean, I didn't have cable really growing up. We only had cable when we got like the free weekend or the free week that they would do every once in a while to get people to subscribe.
And they played the hell out of Fraggle Rock when they did that in the mornings because they wanted parents to see that there was kid shows, that HBO wasn't just like movies with boobs.
So far as I know, my dad did he did the cable guy thing, and he like slipped the cable guy $50 and
he did the black box.
Remember when they had the card that you had to put in the box? He had one of those every channel cards.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, that's great. So I can watch Fraggle Rock and also, Cinemax at night.
I mean,
I don't know if Dad thought about this.
Man, Cinemax after 10:30 p.m. was amazing.
And I mean, I'm also old enough. I don't think you guys are for this one. I remember Nickelodeon's original name.
It had an original name. I remember Nick at Night. I watched that all the time.
Nickelodeon was a Canadian channel that was originally called Pinwheel.
Yeah, and that's right.
Okay, I vaguely
that's
remember
why they had
that
you
correlation.
can't do that on television. Which
like you can't do that on television. It was super Canadian.
That's also why they had Danger Mouse, because that was licensed to the BBC. That's
and
why
two of the big shows that were on
Count Duckula.
Yep.
Man, Danger Mouse was the shit. I love Danger Mouse.
Danger Mouse was good.
Oh, dude, but now I gotta take it back. One of my favorite Muppets is also Beaker.
Davina's is the original North American version, filmed in Toronto, features an inventor named Doc, played by Gary Parks, and his dog Sprocket. Sprocket was awesome. Sprocket always just trying to
catch the Fraggles.
Get his owner to see that Fraggles were running out and stealing his mail. And then there was Uncle Traveling Matt walking around in outer space with the humans.
Dude, if a skit didn't end with Beaker's hair on fire, it wasn't a good skit.
Fair. You're not wrong.
Now, this actually leads pretty good into the movie that I saw, which is called IF, Imaginary Friends.
What the fuck is this?
So it's for kids, right? It's a new movie, came out this weekend. John Krasinski of The Office fame and The Quiet Place and
I mean, I do like
and
John Krasinski, and I do like old boy.
Jack Ryan. Fame. He's not just the director. You can see he also is the writer. So this is
But is
his.
that's Deadpool, right?
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds is the lead, and
Yeah, right. Oh my god, dude! Now I want to watch this. Is it good?
all the imaginary friends are voiced by like top tier Hollywood talent too. Like the teddy bear you'll see pop up on the screen. This was Louis Gossett Jr.'s last role. The big purple guy is Steve Carell. They're getting everybody.
Oh, Steve Carell. Thank God, because I was looking at the big purple guy and I was thinking, is that old boy? Because I fucking hate him.
So Soul Assassin says
Seth Rogen. I was thinking he looks like Seth Rogen. They're giving him
Yeah,
Seth
that's where
Rogen
my brain
personality.
was going to. Is God, I hope that isn't Seth Rogen or Jack Black.
No, it's
well,
not.
I wouldn't mind if it's Jack Black. I like Jack Black, although I do think they're kind of. Jack Black is getting the radio treatment where they play him too much now.
Mm-hmm. I will be
it's
right
killing
back,
him as a
gents.
character.
I gotta switch headsets. My
Okay,
wireless is
sure.
about to die.
So
no worries.
Soul Assassin says it looks like that cartoon Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Look it up. So I don't have to look it up because I watched the shit out of that show. It's a great that is a great cartoon for your family, for your kids to watch. It's another
Dude,
one where
I
it's
love
just-
John Krasinski. I've loved him in
Yeah.
everything he's ever done. I mean, probably my favorite thing he ever did was what is it, 8 hours?
13 hours.
13 hours? Yeah, 13. Oh my god, that fucking movie. That movie made me fucking cry.
Yes. So this movie has a similar concept to Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends in that
But it's a live action of that.
Yeah, where it's imaginary friends for adults who have grown up and moved on from them. They're in like a retirement community type thing, and they have a human girl who's the lead, along with Ryan Reynolds, trying to rehome them.
Dude,
Yeah,
are those
see.
adults like portrayed as horrible human beings? Because I never outgrew
No.
my imaginary friends. I just started putting them in stories.
No, they are. It's the opposite. It's the imaginary friends have nothing but love for the people who created them. It's more that once you're an adult, you just move, you grow up, and you don't see them, and you don't need them anymore. But the message
You
of the movie
drift apart.
Yeah, but the message of the movie turns out that, like you would expect, like you're never too old to need and get a boost from the imaginary friends. So, couple things.
Well, you're never too old to need your imagination too, because so many people like. Well, and this. I'm gonna get mildly political at this point, and then we'll come back into the imaginary friends review. But like, way too many people feel like, well, we have to stop using our imagination because we're adults now. So instead, they start trying to act like it's fucking reality. Like, come on, man. We all know how to pretend, and we've been doing it since we were little kids. It's okay for you to be playing pretend, but don't tell me all this shit you're telling me is reality, because it's fucking not, and we all know it's not. Okay, go back to your review.
All right. So it is. Yeah. It's a movie, I think, as Davina is saying, showing John Krasinski's versatility. I don't expect every one of his projects to be perfect. It's not perfect, but I do think the reason he made this movie is the other movie he was known for writing and directing was The Quiet Place, right? Quiet Place 1, Quiet Place 2. He wrote,
which was weird but good. I mean, everything he's really good. He's fucking heavy hitter.
But I think the reason he wanted to do this one, he has younger kids with Emily Blunt, who's his wife. I think sometimes you want to make something that your family can actually watch, and I doubt he's taking like his 4 and 5-year-olds to see The Quiet Place. It's not something you're going to be watching. So this movie, I think, was designed to be. I wouldn't even be surprised if I haven't seen an interview, but if there was an interview where he talked about maybe his kids being specifically an inspiration for making it.
Dude, I actually have never read The Golden Compass. I heard really good things about it, and I got excited, and I was gonna pick it up. And then, like, I heard that there was the whole writer was like, "Haha, get dunked on, Christians. This book is all about how shitty the church is. Yay!" And I was like, All
Yeah,
right,
the
then fuck
Golden
you.
Compass was, if I remember right, was designed to be a secular atheist, Lion Witch in the Wardrobe kind of
Yeah, well then I'm not gonna read it because
nemesis.
fuck you. Like, I don't understand what this hate for Christianity is. I don't get it. Like, dude, I don't care if you believe or you don't believe. Some of my best friends don't believe.
Oh,
Eh,
we have an update from Brahma, who's over at the Avs Stars Game 6, which is
Did he
0-0
actually
through the
go to the
first
game?
Yes. I guess they performed well enough to warrant him driving down there.
Uh,
Alright,
I was
so,
like, is this his like, hey, are you guys still doing music? Is that what he's
no,
reached
I
out for?
messaged him and told him that I was going to hold off because I didn't, since Imp joined us late, I thought it would just be me and you, Slender. So if I make the quiz,
Yeah, and
and
I'm
there's
the
no
only
one
one
else
who
in
can
the
guess.
yeah, it's not really built for that kind of thing. So getting back to If, it's not a good, it's not a perfect movie. It's kind of like a 6.5 out of 10. But it's not also optimally designed. It's for more for kids, right? It's designed to be something your family can watch. I will tell you, it has moments that will be very emotional if you've experienced loss in your life, because that is one of the main story elements.
Oh shit.
So especially if you've lost a parent, lost a close
Oh, like
family
my
member.
mom?
Yep. That one. So I found myself being emotionally impacted a couple times. It was clearly designed to be, I wouldn't say emotionally manipulative. They're trying to do it for the story, but it's
Here's the thing, right? If you watch a movie, if you play a video game, if you read a book, if you go to a fucking play, you're there to be emotionally manipulated. I don't know if you know this, but that's kind of the whole fucking point.
yeah. So, and I think Krasinski shows there's moments of really great directing flair, writing flair. What saves Krasinski in this situation, they cast the lead actress, who's are probably around you can see in the video playing, who's probably around a 12, I would say 11 or 12-year-old, is actually is really good and sells. This is the thing, that you're made or break, you make or break based on the kid actor in this kind of movie, and she actually is really good at it and sells it.
Well,
Ryan
hopefully
Reynolds,
they're not breaking her as a kid because that's the
yeah,
part that scares me every time I see a child actor in Hollywood nowadays.
that's true. I don't think Krasinski's the type that would do that. So hopefully
Oh
we'll
no,
see.
I if Krasinski is the type that would do that, I would be shocked.
Yeah.
I
And
don't think
Ryan,
he's that type at all, and
I
hopefully he would not let that shit happen. And I feel the same way about Ryan Reynolds.
yeah, I think this is the people involved in this seem fairly, knock on, I mean, it's Hollywood, you never know, but seem fairly safe.
Well, those
It
are the people that could fix Hollywood if only they could take it over and kill off all the old guard.
So now there is something I want to talk about. It's a description of this movie, but it in effect becomes a slight spoiler for the movie. So
I mean, does anybody really care about spoilers?
I'm
Put
just
the
gonna
warning up.
I'm putting the warning up real here right now. Um, I'm gonna give people a fair warning. There will be a spoilers for the movie if in about 10 seconds. So if you're listening to the audio version or you're listening later,
9,
no,
8,
8, 7, 6.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Anyway, yeah, let's go.
All right, so the best way to describe this movie is a kid-friendly version of The Sixth Sense.
Oh, so instead of I see dead people, it's I see
The
not dead people.
She sees the imaginary friends, and so she takes it on herself to try to, go help them.
And does she see everyone's imaginary friends, even
She
other
sees, yep.
people's?
So this, like, the big purple guy here, whose name is Blue, and it's a joke because they're like, "But you're purple," and he goes, "Well, my kid was colorblind." Yeah, so he didn't know
Oh,
which blue.
that's real fucking funny. You know, I have that problem too.
So it's funny. It is funny.
I almost was precluded from joining the military because I have a lot of difficulty distinguishing blue and purple.
There you go. That's funny.
Like they look the same to me if there's not good light. If there's not really good light, I can't tell.
Davina says it looks a bit like a live action Monsters Inc. That's because the purple guy's character design has a lot of elements from Sully or a Monsters thing. Most of the imaginary friends aren't monsters, so not so much.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds is an imaginary friend the whole time.
And that's the big spoiler, right? Yeah, that is the.
Is it really?
You guessed
Is it fucking really?
Yes.
He's her imaginary friend.
Yep, and she doesn't remember him until
And she's like, "I'm outgrowing you." I'm
until
sorry.
the end, and then she remembers that it was.
Oh my god! Shit.
I didn't want to say that far, but you guessed it, so I can't really lie.
I didn't guess it. The chat guessed it.
Yeah. So, but that's
Clay was like, "So Ryan Reynolds is dead the whole time," and I made the joke, "He's the imaginary friend the whole time."
I don't think anybody's. Here's the thing, though. As an adult who's watched movies, if you go to this with your kids, you'll probably pick up on it pretty quick. I don't. I mean, I know it's a twist at the end, but it's not really a big twist because if you're like us and you're trained to notice things, they pretty much give this tell the whole time. You'll notice pretty quickly that other adults do not interact with Ryan Reynolds when when they're going places. Yeah. That's like Last Christmas. Henry Golding was the dead guy with Amelia Clarke. So yeah, so it's but it actually, again, based on the strength of the acting, it actually has moments that will probably impact and emotionally move you if you, again, especially have had a family that has had loss. But it's like I said, but other times it's kind of plotting. Some of the stuff is a little redundant. The imaginary friend, theme, Foster's did it already in terms of imaginary friends living in kind of like a retirement home and such. So it's not as original as maybe John Krasinski would like to say it is, but it's still, it's pretty well done. You can take your kids.
Oh, he's saying it's a completely original idea because it's very much Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Come on now.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this: it's completely safe to take your family to. It's got nice, wholesome messaging because the family unit is a husband, a wife, and a child. And the storyline is early on. You're going to see through a montage that they lost the mother, and now John Krasinski, who plays her father in the movie, is going in for medical procedure. And while he's doing that, she's being watched by grandma, and it's the place she was living when her mother was sick. So that kind of sets up.
And the father didn't make it through the surgery.
No, he does.
He does? Okay.
He does. Yep. So they don't break the child like that, but it's still.
Gonna say.
Yeah. So it's but again, it's not actually if you're worried, nowadays you get worried, like if I'm taking my kid to it, what's the messaging? Like there's no.
Is the messaging that all fathers are dumb idiots who don't know a fucking thing and usually leave, and all mothers are running all the shit because fathers can't be trusted to do a goddamn thing?
It's actually the opposite. That even in spite of him having, basically, I think they're trying to imply his heart is failing and he's getting a transplant or some kind of heart surgery. They never expressly tell you what exactly his problem is. They just kind of show he has a sticker that he shows where it has like a heart that's kind of broken in half. So it's implied. But even in spite of this, he's making jokes. He's trying to make sure his daughter has a childhood, like has fun, has whimsy, like doesn't become, because her mother's died already. Like you can see him working through trying to help her through all this. So it's actually a very strong father figure. And the way, if you look at Ryan Reynolds' character design, right, it was on purpose because he's her imaginary friend, and he resembles Krasinski when they show him in the like flashback videos when she was younger, when her mom was sick. Like I obviously, her imaginary friend was also idealized based on what her father did, magic and all this other stuff. So it's really good. It's in terms of the message. Like I think this would be a really safe, good movie to bring a child to if you wanted to go see a movie this weekend with your kids. Is it going to be completely, are you going to be entertained the entire time? Does it have jokes that hit every time? Not all the time. But it's a really well put together movie. Krasinski is a pretty solid director, and there's nothing wrong with it, which is in 2024 is actually a pretty glowing endorsement. I think.
No shit, right?
Yeah, so that's where I mean, but it's if you that's why I wanted to see someone else. I think Culture was supposed to go see it yesterday, and I messaged him. I was like, "Did you actually go see it?" Because I wanted to see if he picked up on it as quick as I did. Because I like 5 minutes into their first interaction, I was like, "Oh, they're doing the Sixth Sense. This guy's obviously her imaginary friend."
Yeah.
And because and it's not anything bad. Like when you make a movie and you put those clues in, you want really observant viewers to be able to pick it up. That's
Yeah, if you can't figure it out, if as a viewer there's no possible way to figure it out, then there's no point. And if
Yeah.
as a writer you are going out of your way to withhold the details that would help them get there, you're not confident enough in your audience or your story.
Yeah, so there's
Like there should be clues. You should be dropping clues.
yeah, so there's no it's not a bad thing that it's not a twist out of nowhere or like they didn't subvert expectations or anything. Like it was telegraphed
Well,
and it was
and that's the thing. I'm hating that whole subvert expectations because the idea of subverting expectations means we gave you all this data and you thought it was this way, but if you looked at it a little more closely, you would have realized that it's actually this way. Haha, expectations subverted. But nowadays, it's like we gave you all this data and we fucking lied. In actuality, here's all the data we didn't give you that proves that it went this way. That's not subverting expectations. That's called a bait and switch, and it's terrible fucking writing.
yeah, Davina mentions he has two daughters with Emily Blunt, so I think he wanted to make a movie for his kids. And this is a pretty good one. And he's still at the same time he still did push it a little bit to show that he's a really solid filmmaker. So, Krasinski reminds me a lot of Mel Gibson in that Mel Gibson was a really great actor, but he was also a really great director. Like he could direct really great movies. So I think I'm actually more excited to see Krasinski continuing to make movies even more than act in them because of the ones he's done so far. So that's my review. It's pretty good. If you've got kids, you'll be able to take them to it and not have to worry. I don't know that Krasinski isn't an actual like right wing person, or I don't care, but I do know that at least in the movie he's making, he's not putting any of that messaging in. It's just a
Is
nice,
that old boy from The Office too?
Yeah, because Steve Carell is the voice of the purple guy.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Steve
Over
Carell,
2 hours,
yeah.
I know, Grant. It's because Slender was being nice to let me finish my rambling review of If before he hit the button.
Okay. I loved the bit, and we did it for several weeks, but I felt like it was time to let that bit go.
If
There's no
anything-
reason to just